Hi. So I've been talking through and it did not go live and I had an error. So I've gone through the last 15 minutes and none of the information has come through to you. So I am going to apologize and we are going to start this very much from the beginning again. So, welcome to today's episode of the Distributed Republic. We are going to be looking at how to use generative AI to be able to do a CV and cover letter. Some of the challenges that we're going to come up with is potentially looking at how generative AI can cause particular issues when we're doing cover letters, but also how can we get around them as well. So hopefully you can see my screen on this side here. And what I'm going to do is go back to our first step and go, we need to have two things to be able to do what we want to be able to achieve with our generative AIs. The first thing we need is a job description that we're going to be working with. And the second thing we're going to need is going to be our LinkedIn to be able to download our PDF from our profile from. So what I'm going to start with is looking at how we're going to go about this process. Now, what's really important to note is the tools that we're going to be using today are either free or very low cost. And one of the joys of being able to do that is we want to be able to make sure this is as accessible as possible. Now, one of the tools, the methods that I'm going to show you, we're going to start off with the easiest and we're going to keep working our way down to the harder ways of being able to do this. Now, the easier ones sometimes involve paid for products because they kind of bridge our gaps a little bit. Now, what I'd like it to be able to do is ensure that when we use these first versions, we are going to be in a situation where these tools are now being made free as well. So I'm going to be showing you how to use GPTs and a GPT-4 language model. And what I want to be able to do with that is show you how these things work. So what we can do is when you get given the free version of that, which will be coming out very soon to all users on ChatGPT, then you'll be able to do exactly the same thing as what I'm showing you here as well. Now, it's really important to note that generative AI only gets you 80% of the way there. This still takes a human touch. The reason that this methodology works really well is recruitment agencies and job searchers. Once you go through when you're applying for a job, they use something called an applicant tracking system. And that ATS system essentially marks your CV out of a certain score. And it's going to essentially be looking at, based on the job description, based on the context that the company has given it, is this person the right candidate? And what happens is actually 75% of CVs never see human eyes. They all get filtered out by the applicant tracking process. And a lot of the time, applicant tracking systems are using AI to be able to do that. Now, the way that I see it is if AI is going to be part of the recruitment process and it is going to be used by organizations, then also it should be able to be used by job seekers as well. So, what we want to be able to do is essentially look at how we can use generative AI to help us with part of our recruitment process as well. And it's going to tailor your CV and cover letter to the organization that you're looking to apply to. So, really useful tools that we're going to be going through. This methodology as well, we're applying it to CV and cover letters, but there's no reason that you can't send it to any other kind of documentation as well. And we'll look into a little bit more about how we can do that later on. So, let's get started. The first thing that we're going to do is go onto a LinkedIn profile. Now, hopefully your LinkedIn profile, and hopefully that's up to date. If it's not, if you've got a previous version of a CV or anything like that, that's fine. We just want to be able to have a document that we can use and upload to our systems, to our generative AI to tailor it for what we're going for. So in order to be able to download our LinkedIn profile really easily, we can go to the More button, we can go to Save as PDF, and that is going to save our LinkedIn profile as a document. Now, I looked at a job earlier that I wanted to be able to apply this methodology to. So I'm going to copy this job description here. They might already have a PDF or something and you can attach that as well, but it's the same methodology. And what we're going to do is we're going to go to our ChatGPT. And what you'll see is we're going to be using a GPT called CV GPT. Now, this is already created, designed to make this as easy a process as possible. However, what you're going to want to do is have a link to be able to get to it. So if you go to the community distributedrepublic.xyz, go to products, go to futurepreneur resources, you'll find a link to the CV GPT right in that link there. All of the resources we're going to be using today, you'll be able to find on that page. So we know where we're going. We have our GPT here. This is the easiest methodology to be able to go through. Now, to get this GPT to start tailoring our CV and covering letter to this job, what we want to be able to do is click on our attachment bit, go to upload from computer. We've got our document that we've just put together, and we can see that that's uploaded. And then we're going to copy the job description in. And what's going to happen is this is going to start tailoring our LinkedIn profile, our CV, to the job description that we've just put up. So it's going to help us essentially improve our ATS score. Now, what you can see on mine is we've got what is extracted all of the data from that PDF and started putting it into this table. And this table has columns that relate to the document that I've created. We're going to be using a process called bulk upload on Canva. And what this essentially does is allows us to have a document that we've created, connect it to a table, and therefore it's going to change the data on that document based on that table. Now, the easiest thing we're going to do is we're going through our minimal version first. And this is really good if you're a new hire, or you don't necessarily have a lot of experience on your CV and you want to be able to do a one-page CV and cover letter. So what I'm going to do is go to this Canva document. It's called Minimalist Business CV Template. I'll add it to the Futurepreneurs documents as well. And this is going to have essentially a document that's already connected to the data that we want to be able to utilize. You can see there's these little purple boxes around it. And essentially, this is going to extract the data from our ChatGPT, and it's going to put it into the document. Now, the feature that we want to be able to use to do that is called bulk upload. This is a fantastic feature on Canva that allows us to connect these documents to tables. So if we scroll down, we go to bulk create, we go to enter data manually. We're going to clear the data that's already in there. And we are going to copy and paste our data from our document. So now we've got our data in there. Make sure when you're doing it that you click on the gray box in the top left-hand corner. And then when you're happy with it, click on done. And then go to continue. Generate design. And what that's going to have done is it's going to have extracted the data from your CV and put it into this document. Now, you'll probably need to do some formatting around this. As you can see, not everything is neat and tidy. So you might need to be able to move some columns around and put the data around in a way that you like the format of and that looks good. But as you can see, you can just click on these boxes and start to move everything quite easily by just putting it all underneath like that. So it's a really nice way of getting our data in there very quickly. That's the 60-second part. That's how to generate and tailor your CV in 60 seconds. Is you copy your CV, you copy the job description, you've created the table. That's it. That's created a tailored version of this CV for that job. Now what you need to do is spend a bit of time on formatting it. So you can see that when I've got it being pasted into these boxes here, it's posting it as bullet points. So all you need to do is delete the bullet point that's already there and press enter, and it will create it in a much more pleasing way to be able to look at it. So that's taken and extracted all of our data and tailored it for the role that we're going for. Now, what we can also do with our ChatGPT is we need to make note that this is going to produce things in US English. That's the default with ChatGPT. What we want to be able to do is potentially, if we're in the UK and you're applying for roles, you might want to press the 1 key on this chatbot, and that will change all of that table data to UK English. So it's just going to reformat it all and put it in UK English. really useful for being able to do this stuff very quickly. If you want to be able to change any data, like for example, on this one, I think it's got quite a small personal statement. So we can talk to this chatbot as if we're interacting with people via email. So if I went onto this and I go to, I'd like to expand the personal statement by 50%. Now, what I really like about generative AI as someone who would be looking for a role is it's a really nice way of being able to demonstrate your experience. And if you're someone who maybe experiences marginalization because they're dyslexic or finds those parts of the recruitment process difficult, or you haven't ever had CV coaching, all of that kind of stuff, then it's a really great way of being able to get yourself through the door, started on the process. And as I said, it's only going to get you 80% of the way there. I also think it's important to note, if organizations are going to use AI as part of the hiring process, then candidates should be able to use AI as well as part of that process. So what we can see now is expanded our personal statement based on our request that we put there. Now that's great if we have we're starting off, we only have a one-page CV. But what happens if we wanted to do something with a bit more expansive experience? Well, that you can then go to the advanced template. So if you click on the 3 key and enter that, what it's now going to do is expand that template and give a second table. Now, I've done this in 2 parts, and there's a reason for that. Is generative AI can be inherently lazy, and the more tasks that you give it to do in one go, the more likely it is to shortchange you on words or context or whatever it might be. So what we've done is we've created it into 2 sections now, and this is a really good methodology, something you should be aware of when using generative AI, because it's a really useful way of being able to get the best out of the task that we're doing. So we have our table 1, and I'm going to go to the second template now, which is our advanced template. And this one has been designed as a 2-pager with a bit more information to be able to add in for our generative tailoring. So if I scroll down to where we have our bulk create again, we're going to go enter data manually. We're going to clear our table. We're going to copy that data in. We're going to go along to the end of the table. We're going to click on add text. And then we are going to click on the second part of our table, where we are going to go for our expanded CV. And then we're going to go back to our template, and we're going to copy in that second part. Now, one of the really great things about Canva is you can have up to 60 columns in our Canva template. So we can always tailor everything that we're doing to what we want in quite a large format. Click on done, and you'll see that we have all of our headers have come up in purple. So that's going to essentially say, hey, you've connected this data, and we want to be able to go and connect it to this formatting over here. Now, I'm not going to do it with this template. That's the template that's there, but I've actually got one that I've created that's for myself, and it already has some of the formatting in it. So instead of having it generate the information every single time on this way, and we have to kind of move the columns around to make sure it all lines up, essentially I've done that. So I've connected it myself, so it doesn't have to worry about doing it. But I'm going to use exactly the same process just to show you again. So we're going to copy table 1. Go to bulk create, enter data manually, copy it in, slide along to the end, add that second table in, go back to our template, go done, and then I'm going to go continue, generate design, and you can see that that has now added that information into our template. So we have our personal statement, all of the experience. The only formatting that I need to do is turning these bullet points into different lines. So we've got all of our data in really, really quickly. Now, as I said, generative AI is only going to get you 80% of the way there. You still need to check over this. One of the most important aspects of using generative AI is human oversight. Generative AIs can hallucinate, they can misread data, they can come to the wrong answer. You need to be able to check over this. Nobody's going to take a you're going, oh, I submitted it wrong. Yeah, it's got loads of data that's incorrect in. I use generative AI for it. And someone will go, yeah, but you are accountable for that. You have sent it. It is representative of you. You need to make sure you've got that human oversight on it as well. So we've now got our template. We could then go through this whole process of making sure that we formatted it all correctly. But if we were happy with it, we were ready to go and we wanted to be able to download it, we can go to share, download, and we'd want to download it as a PDF and then go download. So that would then create our PDF that we can upload. You're like, Jamie, you told me CV and cover letter, and you are right. And I need to go into my art attack, or should I say AI attack, and channel my Neil Buchanan to be able to go, here's some stuff that I've made earlier. But it's a useful thing that we're going to look at. This was one of our processes. So yeah, we're going to go and look at how we can do our cover letter for this as well. So really easy. Once we've done our first table and our second table, we can go, I want to be able to write a cover letter by just clicking on the for key and pressing enter. And what you can see is generating a custom cover letter for the role that we're applying for. So really quick, easy process of being able to get this data across. Once again, it needs to be read over by a human. You need to be able to make sure you have oversight, but it's definitely a good way of getting your foot in the door, getting the process started, getting the information down on page. And then you can obviously, depending on the process that they have, you could either add this to your PDF. That's what I've done with my template. As you can see that I have a space for cover letter at the top, or you can send it separately, or sometimes they want you to put it into a text box, in which case you can copy and paste it across. Now, based on all of that information, we can go, great, I want to know what kind of ATS score that I'm having. My recommendation is you re-upload your CV once you've downloaded it from Canva to be able to do this, but you should also just be able to do it with the data that's in there, because it's the same data that's on here that's going to be in your cover in your document. So if I click on the 5 key, it's going to take the information that we have in this chat window. Sometimes ChatGPT does this where it's trying to give you a comparison between two responses. That's fine. It's going to come up with the same data in 2-bit, and it's just going to ask you which ones you prefer. But it's going to analyze all of the information that we have, that we've entered so far, and use that to create an ATS score out of 100. So we've got to give it a little bit of time to analyze. Gives me time to have a sip of cup of tea. Also, if you've got any comments, thoughts, anything that as we're going through that you're like, hey, I want to be able to understand that a little bit better, then do put those comments in there as well, and we'll do our best to answer them. So at the moment, it's only looking at the last bit of data. You can see that the scores aren't very high, but that's because we haven't uploaded our document. If I was to take let's go and download one that I've had previously. This was another example that I've got. I'm going to download it as a PDF, upload it to our ATS score reader, and press 5 in our chatbot. I told you there'll be mistakes as we go along, and that's not a bad thing. And what I want to be able to do is show you how to be able to resolve those situations as well. And what we can see is it's going off in its own little direction, and that's not a bad thing. So generative AI doesn't always understand instructions that are going through. It's fine that it started to kind of rewrite things based on an optimization of ATS. What I want to be able to do is I'm going to stop this one, and I'm going to open up a fresh version of this GPT. We're going to go to CV GPT again, and I'm just going to upload it with a fresh look and Click on 5. I'm not giving it the job description as well, which is the disadvantage of what it's doing. It's going to struggle to do the ATS score without seeing what the job description is, but we'll give it a shot, and just so you have an example of how these things work. Not playing ball on that bit. That's fine. So what will happen is once you've got your job description in there, you've got the cover letter, you'll be able to combine those two things together to create an ATS score. And it might give you recommendations of how you can start to improve some of your CV and cover letter to tweak it to be able to get a higher ATS score. So you can keep going through that process of checking and checking and checking. Now, this isn't an official way of how ATS scores are done. It's just going to give you an indication. It's not, every organization will have a different way of doing ATS scores. And that sometimes means that what works with one isn't necessarily going to work with the other, but it should give you some ideas of what you need to know in order to be able to tailor your CV and cover letter appropriately. I'm going to go back to the previous chat that we had, which we'd started in here. And one of the things you can also do is if you want to go back in part of the process and edit where you were. So I'm going to go back to where we were here. You can still go through that process and go, hey, I want to be able to change it from this point in the chat, which is a really useful feature. Now, what I want to do is go, hey, I want to be able to take this table and I want to be able to put it into a list instead, because I don't want to use a template. I don't want to use Canva. I just want to create a list that I can copy and paste into my own document, in which case you can just go, can you put this table in a list format? Let's go send. And what you can see now is it's taking that table and it's just making it in a really easy copy and paste format that you might be able to use for your own documents. You can obviously give it different formatting instructions of how to be able to go and do that. So a really nice way, if you don't want to use Canva, you're not familiar with it, it doesn't feel as natural to be able to use, then that's one of the things that we can do to kind of mitigate with that as well. Now, what else have I got on my to-do list? So we've gone through the list version. Now I want to be able to show you how to do this from scratch. So this is using ChatGPT 3.5 that everybody should have access to. And it's going to be using a document which is in this Futurepreneurs resources called How to Use ChatGPT to Write Your Cover Letter. So if you click on that, you'll be able to download it. And this has a prompt already put into it. So this is just a guide on how to be able to create this. If you don't have ChatGPT 4 available, you can't upload documents. This is another way of being able to do that. So what you can do is we're going to copy this prompt. And this is essentially the prompt that is being used in the background of our GPT. So if I copy this and I go into a new chat window, and I'm going to be using ChatGPT 3.5 to be able to do this. So I'm going to copy this, press enter. And it goes, great, I understand the task that you're asking me to be able to do. Can you provide me a current CV and a job description for the individual we're using? So because we can't upload documents, this is going to be a copy and paste job. So once again, I'm going to copy from here. I'm going to paste the job description. If you hold shift and enter, you'll be able to put put that bit separate from each other. Then I'm literally just going to go down the LinkedIn profile and copy and paste. One of the things you will want to do is potentially open up certain sections. So for example, if I was looking at my experiences here, you can always see that it says see more. So that's going to help you with being able to get copy and paste more of the information. You could also copy and paste it from your PDF. There's no reason that you couldn't do both. I'm going to also open up that bit there. And then you can literally go down your page and copy it like that. Any data that you wanted to add in, you can easily just copy it in as well. So I've put all that information in, I've put the job description in, I'm going to press enter. Now we've got too much information in this one. That's not a problem. What we're going to do is do it in 2 steps then. So let's go back to my clean GPT window. I'm going to go back to our document, copy that in. And this goes back to what I was saying, there's nothing wrong with being able to do this in a step-by-step approach. So first of all, it's gone great. I understand the task. I'm going to copy the text in, and this is for the job description. And then what I'm going to do is copy in the information from the CV. That's because my CV is too long. Let's do it with a little bit less information in. Let's just go to a few job roles at the top there then. And this is one of the limitations you'll find with generative AI when you can't upload documents, is you have a limited amount of text that you can put in one go. So I'm going to copy this in, and it's going to find that a bit better. So there we go. We've now utilized that information. It's going to start tailoring that information that we've put on the job description, and it's going to start utilizing it for the work that we're doing in our ChatGPT 3 window. So that's free. That's optimized for that job description. There are differences between 4 and 3. 4 is a lot better at understanding context. It's going to be able to process a lot more information. It gets much higher quality results, but this is still a really feasible way of being able to do things as well. And the reason I wanted to show this is because you might want to create your own version of this kind of prompt, and you can do it for any kind of documentation. So with this one, you can see the way that I've created that GPT to be able to create those tables and do the things that we're asking for is through this really detailed prompt. And you'll be able to go, well, I understand that this prompt is trying to create this information, and this is how it's being described as part of a prompt. So you can do it to be able to build your own. And this can be really useful for if you're building your own kind of CVs and templates and stuff like that. Let me bring up an example. Let's go for our templates here. So you might not want to use this for a CV or cover letter. You might want to be able to use it for presentation decks and stuff like that. And you can do it in exactly the same process of being able to get your ChatGPT to be able to create a table and then connecting it to your document. And before I go, the last bit that I'll show is how we connect these kind of things to a document. So say you wanted to do this yourself and you wanted to have another way of going around it, you can go to our document, we go to bulk create, and I am going to show you how this GPT works. So this uses a slightly different one, but it's been customized for this document. And I'm going to give it a topic to work with. So we're going to go for communication. And let's go effective communication. We can see that this one understands that, hey, I've got work for a different way of being able to do things now. This is a different GPT, but the same process. And it's going to put all of that information into a table. So now I've got this table that's been created. I can copy it. And it's the same process as what we had with our other one, with our CV document. I'm going to go to enter data manually, clear this table, put the data in. And now this one you can see is already going to have had some aspects of it that are connected to bits of data. But what I'm going to do is I want to be able to connect, show you how to be able to connect it to other bits. So at the moment, you can see that we have our date column here. If I wanted to be able to connect it to the data that I wanted, I can go to this key where it says connect data, and I can give it a column. You can see that date's already selected, but I could change that if I wanted to. So let's go to connect data, date, and then you can see that you've got the information in there. So that means that you could all of a sudden, once you've done that with all of the different elements as part of your deck, you can start to go to generate design. And once again, you've got an entirely tailored deck for what you're looking to do. It takes a little bit of time to get your formatting sorted, but generally speaking, it's not too long to be able to make happen. So you can use it for all sorts of different documents. And as I said, it will get you 80% of the way there very quickly. So that is today's workshop. Forgive me for being a bit late. As I said, I thought that I was live and it didn't tell me that there was an error. So hopefully that's been useful for you now. And it's a great way to get started on being able to learn about both generative text AI, how to be able to use it for things that you everyday tasks, and also to be able to use it to be able to work within these systems that are already using AI, to be able to use AI, to be able to utilize it for AI systems. And sometimes the best way to be able to know how to do one thing is to see how it's being done on the other side as well. So it's a really nice way to start processing some of this information. Have a wonderful day, and I hope this was useful. And yeah, do let me know if you have any comments, questions. Do reach out to me on LinkedIn, and we'll get talking and see what we can do to help you in the future. So have a fantastic day, and I look forward to catching you all very, very soon.